you might want to save this delicious cheesecake recipe for later. This is going to be a vanilla, strawberry and white chocolate cheesecake. So we need to use a springform tin, or else you won't be able to get the cheesecake out of the tin. I bought some acetate roll because I'm going to add some sliced strawberries around the edge for decoration, but you don't need to add acetate. I've never done this before. I added some glue dots to stick the acetate together, which I later came to regret. I'll show you why in a bit. So we start by crushing up the digestive biscuits and melting the butter. Bearing in mind, you can use any biscuits that you want, but I just love the classic digestives. If you don't add enough melted butter to the crushed biscuits, then the base won't hold together. So make sure when you're mixing the butter and the biscuits that every single crumb is coated in the butter. It should be like a wet sand texture. So to start building the cheesecake, we're going to press the biscuits into the base of the tin using the back of a spoon to really push the biscuits down. Then we pop that in the fridge for about 20 minutes whilst we move on to the next step. So we're going to whisk up some double cream until it's thick. I use an electric whisk. You can just use a hand whisk, but it will take you forever. You need some big guns if you're just going to use a hand whisk. You need to make sure that the double cream is thickened. If you don't mix long enough, then the cheesecake won't hold its structure. And if you whisk the double cream too much, then it can split. So to prevent this happening, I always switch to a hand whisk when I see it begin to thicken. Now in a separate bowl, I add the cream cheese and some icing sugar. No need to sift it, with a dash of vanilla flavouring. I mix that until it's just combined, so that doesn't take as long as the double cream. Then I mixed both of these together, and I also added some chopped white chocolate, which just made it even more delicious. I added the sliced strawberries around the edge, and then I poured in the cheesecake mixture. Now we need to leave enough time for the cheesecake to set, so I highly recommend leaving it overnight. Now this is where I ran into some issues with the acetate. It was really stuck together, so I had to use a pair of scissors to kind of cut it free. I think I'll just use a tiny bit of sellotape next time. I would also pop the cheesecake in the freezer for about 10 minutes before removing the baking paper, because I did lose a few crumbs. But apart from that, it turned out perfect. It was very silky and it just melts in your mouth. So easy to make, so you have to give it a try. And if you make a cheesecake in a different way, let me know.